1 2 1 2. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Motive Racing YouTube channel. We are back here tonight for round 4 of season 5 here on the PlayStation 5 for the GT3 Championship here on a Sunday night. We're coming towards the end of the qualifying session. Currently we've got Tinus in the house, sat on provisional pole, our championship leader so far this season, but we've got Jazzman coming through into the final few corners. Obviously Jazzman in his new car, the Ferrari, jumped in last week into the Ferrari and did a fantastic job at Hungary, took a dominant victory, but so far Tinus on provisional pole. Can Jazzman take back what he had last week in terms of top spot in qualifying? Here he comes up over the line and he does do it by 0.06 of a second there. So Jazzman, just as we were jumping onto the stream, manages to pull out a fantastic lap there, found 0.2 of a second and puts it on pole position. So it'll be Jazzman and Tinus on the front row. How many times have we said that over the years? We've got Robe who will line up on the second row with Guido Christ alongside him. Then it's going to be Totally Zero and Sharka Zulu in 5th and 6th, followed by Ludo who will line up alongside Carl Marley, with Epiphany and Andrew completing at the top 10. Then we've got Crazy Legs in 11th, followed by Kev Sim who will line up alongside him on the 6th row. Then we've got PS Vids and Caprigia on the 7th row, followed by Tunde and Nath J Fletch. And we've got Kodalungu in 17th ahead of Raki, followed by High Grade with LOL 3000 alongside him. Fierce Mars in 21st place ahead of Remstuft in 22nd. Day line up to 23rd ahead of Error Code in 24th, with Mary Louise in 25th place, followed by Snoopy who line up alongside him on the 13th row. And then we've got Scooter Paul ahead of Glenn and Chris, rounding out the 29 car grid here at Barcelona tonight for round 4 of Motive Racing's GT3 Championship. Obviously we're running just the one tier at the moment because our numbers aren't quite there. Quite hesitant to run a second tier at this point because obviously it's nice to have the full grids, and it's really unfortunate at the moment because we are having to turn a few drivers away. There were about 5 or 6 drivers who wanted to join tonight. We couldn't accommodate them because I thought that I'd figured out a setting which allowed us to have up to 40 drivers in one server, but it's not really worked how I thought it was going to, and as such we're going to have to sort of go back to the drawing board on that one. Hopefully we're going to figure out how to actually make that work, because I know there is a way you can get up to 40 drivers in one server on console, so we're going to figure that out. But for the time being we're going to have to settle with 29 cars on the grid, because obviously 30 drivers in a server, but one of them is a spectator, which is your boy at the bottom of the screen there. So yeah, unfortunately we thought we were going to have 30 plus drivers tonight, but it's not to be the case. And I feel bad for the guys who confirmed that they were going to be racing this week and have ultimately been turned away, because it's not really their fault. And honestly, if it's anyone's fault, it's my fault for not really looking into it and kind of just assuming it was all going to work out, because it's clearly not been the case. So yeah, if anyone's to blame, it's certainly myself, and I should have really have done my research and actually looked into it and made the effort to understand what it was that we were supposed to do to make sure that the server could accommodate 40 people. But nonetheless, we're here at the start here, getting ready to go for this 4th round of the GT3 Championship. We've got Jazzman and Tinus on the front row, looking ready to go at it once again, as we saw last Sunday in the first couple of laps. They had quite a good duel actually on the first lap last week at Hungary. That was unfortunately where the battles really ended, because after that Jazzman just seemed to have the edge. But this week it seems to be a lot closer. The gap between them only 0.06 of a second in qualifying. So has Tinus figured out a way to get that Honda to work? Is this maybe a bit of a track specific strength here for the Honda? Not quite sure. But here we come out of the final corner anyway. We're moments away from the start of this race here at Barcelona. 29 cars here. Tunde's unfortunately failed to ready up, so he will start this one from the pits. But here we go then, we're green, green, green. As Lowell 3000 has got a drive-through penalty for a jump start. He seems to be the only one that's done that, but we've got Jazzman here, who seems to have not got a great start here. He's got Robo on his outside with 3 wide here into turn 1. As Tynus there gets it around the outside into P1. Oh, Jazzman just taps Robo a little bit there. Robo holds it around the outside for turn 2. They're still side by side though, and Jazzman will look to get the inside here for turn 3, and he gets it done there on Robo, so he's up into second place after seemingly losing the position there going up towards turn 1. We've got Guido Cristeta totally zero, and Shark Zulu's lost out to, I think that's the that's Guido Crist in front of him there. So yeah, Guido Crist into 5th place, and now Ludo's trying to go around the outside of Shark Zulu here, coming through turn 4, but can't do it. He has to tuck in for the time being, and Ludo there still behind Shark Zulu. He's now got Crazy Legs to his inside, and Crazy Legs just taps him in the side a little bit there, and it's contact there between the two of them, and Ludo keeps it around the outside of Crazy Legs for the time being. Crazy Legs does actually get the move done there, up into 7th place, so nicely done there from Crazy Legs. Was a bit aggressive, but I think it's all fair. It's a bit of rubbings racing there between the two of them, and that's what you come to expect in racing. But clean first lap so far. Looking down the order to see if there's anybody who's lost it or dropped off at the back of the pack. It looks like Lowell 3000 at the moment. Obviously he's got a drive-through penalty as well. Scooter Airport and Tunde seems to have got involved. Oh no, he was the one who didn't ready up at the start. So Lowell 3000 and Scooter Airport have dropped off at the back of the pack here on this first lap. I'm not quite sure what's going on with those guys, but they're struggling so far. But Tynus, Jazzman, Robo, your top 3 there's totally zero ahead of Guido Chris, followed by Shark Zulu. Crazy Legs there in 7th ahead of Ludo. Oh, Ludo's, what's happened to Ludo? Ludo's lost a load of places here. Oh, and Day's lost it. Day's had a spin there coming into the final sector, so Day 666 there having a horror show moment, and well, he's going to be dropping down to the back of the pack there. But what has happened to Ludo? Because Ludo was running in 8th place before. He's now now near the back of the pack. He's running with the number 33 car, which is Snoopy, so God knows what's happened to Ludo there, because he was running in a high position to start off with, but he's coming into the pits here at the end of the first lap, so clearly some damage there on that car, which is affecting him massively at this point. So Ludo there into the pits at the end of the first lap, but it's Tynus, Jazzman, Robo with totally through ahead of Guido Chris. There's Shark Zulu, Crazy Legs in 7th ahead of Carl Marley, and then you've got Kodalungu there running in 9th place. He's battling with Nate J. Fletcher at the moment for 9th place. You've got Highgrade there ahead of PS Fitz, followed by Remstead and Ericode Epiphany, Andrew ahead of Fierce Mars, Kevsim, Raki, and then you've got Snoopy, Caprigia. Chris still defending here from Mary Louise at the moment, as you can see them all filing through turn 3. There's Ludo currently in the pits at this point. Lowell 3000 coming in for his drive-through penalty after obviously the penalty that he got for jumping the start. But currently Tynus and Jazzman still out in front. They're gapping Robe a little bit here. Robe's now dropped off of these two by 1.5 seconds. But Tynus here obviously had the edge in the early stages of qualifying, and then Jazzman pulled out a lap from nowhere and managed to pip him to pole position with a fantastic effort. But Tynus managing to get the jump on Jazzman off of the start line, and is currently holding on to that position for the time being. What has Jazzman got to offer him? Is he just going to play it patiently, play the long game here in the first stint of this race and wait for the pit stops to really make his move? As we've got Carl Marley and Crazy Legs here side by side, and Carl Marley's made the move there on Crazy Legs, beautifully done there going through turn 10, and he's now up into 7th place there. Kodalungu is still running ahead of Nathan at the moment in the battle for 9th place. So we watch the other guys just coming through into the final sector there. But interesting first couple of laps to this race. There's Capriga, who's got Chris behind him. Chris there very wide. Mary Louise not able to capitalise just at the moment though, and still continuing to wait a little bit longer there behind him for the time being. As Tynus and Jazzman into turn 1 here to complete, or rather to start lap 3 of the race. Robo continues to drop off at the top 2 a little bit. Oh, it's Totally Zero's got Guido Chris to his inside. Guido Chris trying to make the move. Totally Zero just went a bit deep there going through turn 2, but Guido Chris unable to capitalise. Here we go through turn 3. Can Guido Chris get the run here? If he might be able to send one up the inside into turn 4 if he can get a decent enough run here, but he's too far back, and Totally Zero looking quite secure in that 4th place for the time being. As Nath here looking to the outside of Kodalungu here into turn 4. Cod there parking his car on the inside, middle part of the track there for Cod. Goes very deep there coming through turn 4, and that will give Nath the run, and Nath there gets the move done. Easy pickings there for Nath J. Fletch up into 9th place. Kodalungu's got to watch out because he's got high grade and PS Vids right behind him. But Kodalungu there, unfortunately, for him just overcooking it a little bit there. We've got a train of cars right now battling over what's technically 9th place here in this race. Now Nath J. Fletcher is the new leader of this pack. High Grade's got PS Vids all over him. Currently Remster in the midst of that pack of cars as well, with Andrew there getting it a bit wrong going through the turn 6 and 7 kink. Oh, and what's happened there? Oh no, somebody into the wall there. Who is that? Oh, it's Fierce Mars there who's binned it going through turn 7, and he's going to lose a load of places here. We've got side-by-side action there actually as well, between Day and Glenn. So Day making a move there on Glenn up into 23rd place. Beautiful move there from him, but what a shame there for Fierce Mars, as he's now down to P25. So it's really gone a bit of a nightmare there for him, as Tynus and Jazzman coming over the line to complete lap 3 of the race, and it's absolutely nothing between these two right now. Jazzman in the slipstream here, coming down towards turn 1, but he's too far back, just a little bit too far back to make the move. There's Robe still running in 3rd place, totally zero ahead of Gidachrist and Sharkazulu. That's a 3-way battle right now for 4th place. Can they close the gap to Robe? He's actually gapped them by quite a bit in the first few laps. Carl Marley's still got Crazy Legs on the back of him, despite making a move on him. Crazy Legs has not given up in that battle for the time being. Nate's still battling with COD. You've got PS Vids, Remster, Ericode and Epiphany there going through turn 1. Andrew in the background there ahead of Kevstim, with Raki, Snoopy a couple of seconds behind him in 18th place. You've got Mary Louise, Scooter, Paul, Day closing up onto the back of Paul as well here. So Day 66 driving. Well, it was not an easy first lap, but since then he seems to have picked himself back up quite nicely here. So knocking on the door of a P20 here in this race so far. Jazzman and Tynus, they're just a 10th of a second apart at the moment as they come through turn 7. It's absolutely neck and neck, and Jazzman's made the move on Tynus, so Jazzman is up into P1. Where has he done that? I'm not quite sure. Tynus obviously led the first couple of laps of the race after getting the jump on Jazzman. Jazzman was the pole sitter, let's not forget, but seems to not be getting off the line very well in his Ferrari, but he's now got the lead back off of Tynus, so he's obviously made the manoeuvre. I didn't see where he did it, to be honest with you. I was so busy watching the mid-pack battles, but Jazzman, now your new race leader, but this has allowed Robe to close in on them. Obviously those two battling each other has allowed Robe to just gain a bit of time back on them. Tony Zero still ahead of Guido Chris with Sharkazulu and Carl Marley in the background. Battles still going on everywhere you look. PS Vids is ahead of Remster and Ericode at this point. You've got Epiphany on the back of that train as well. So so many drivers packed into a short space. Kodalungu trying to gap PS Vids here. You can see the gap's almost a second between those two at this point, but PS Vids has got a load of angry GT3 cars in his mirrors here as they're coming out of the final corner, and you can see they're all concertinaing up behind him here. Now Remster's going to be in the slipstream, but he's also got Ericode in his slipstream here. Ericode looking to pull out here, looking to the inside into turn 1 when Remster's got nowhere to go here. Couldn't really pull out the slipstream off of PS Vids because he had Ericode looking to his inside. Ericode now down the inside into turn 1, makes the manoeuvre and makes it stick there on Remster. Remster trying to keep it there for turn 2, but he's not going to be able to, and Ericode up into P12. This has allowed PS Vids just to gap these guys ever so slightly whilst they fight each other, as Epiphany there very wide going on the exit of turn 3, but Andrew can't capitalise, has to tuck in for the time being. But Ericode up into P12 now on the back of PS Vids, can now try and focus his attention further up. These guys not too far for a top 10 spot, but Kodalungu is starting to pull away from this pack of cars here as they battle it out. Got Scooter Paul on the back of Mary Louise, and Day still not too far away, and Glenn there losing it onto the gravel, and he's going to lose a couple of places here. I think Chris there is going to make a move around the outside of him. These two GT UK boys having a good little fight, but Glenn there losing out to Chris, and Chris up into 21st place. Now Highgrade on the back of him. Highgrade's had a bit of a nightmare in the first couple of laps. I'm not quite sure what happened to him. He was running up high a couple of laps ago, but he's now down in 23rd place. Just to keep you all in the loop, Ludo's been into the pits obviously with first lap damage. Caprigia they're struggling coming through turn 9. He's also been into the pits, and so has Fierce Mars as well. So 3 drivers have been into the pits to make their mandatory pit stops already here tonight. So plenty of drivers pulling the trigger early here in this race. Jazzman leading the race by just under a second here ahead of Tynus, as that, if you didn't already know, was a hiccup. Gidachrist is now over a second ahead of Sharkazulu. Carl Marley in P6, a couple of seconds now ahead of Crazy Legs, so the drivers now just starting to gap each other, starting to find their feet a little bit here, and maybe the dirty air from the cars are starting to affect the front end grip, which is just causing a few issues maybe for following cars. Having said that, these guys not really struggling from any of that at this point. PS Vids seems to be gapping this train of cars. Remster, Ericode and Epiphany battling out over 11th, 12th and 13th places as they're coming into turn 4, and no one really close enough to make a move. Oh, it's Andrew looking to the outside of Epiphany. Epiphany though parks his car on the inside, not allowing Andrew to get a switch back there for the time being. Epiphany keeping onto that one in the foreground. Remster still defending there from Ericode as they came through turn 5. and he's doing it very well at this point. Raki now starting to pull up onto this train of cars here. And Scuderia Paul's had a moment. What has happened to him? He's got damage. He's got big damage there on the front of that Audi. So he's clearly been into the wall. Something's catastrophic's happened to him. He's lost 4 places here on that last lap. So Paul is limping around, and he's got a long way to go to get back to the pits as well. So he's going to lose a lot of time there with that one. That's going to be really unfortunate there. Andrew throwing a little feint to the inside there on Epiphany into turn 9, but he's just too far away at this point. And Remster's still weathering this storm. He's actually managed to pull away ever so slightly from this battle behind him, which is still going on. Error code. What's happened to error code here? He's lost out to Epiphany and Andrew. And Remster actually. So error code's made a mistake, and he's lost a couple of places here. So he's down to, I think, 14th. Where's Kevsim in all of this? Kevsim is actually pulling up onto the back of this train here. So Kevsim's bringing himself into this fight. Raki's still there on the back of that train as well. But it's Remster still leading this train of cars. Here comes Epiphany though, trying to pull out that between, looking to the inside, too far back into turn 1 for the time being. Raki very close to the back of Kevsim into turn 1, but still no dice for him at the moment. Gap between the two leaders still 0.6 of a second out the front between Jazzman and Tynus. Kodalungu's still just ahead of Nath in that battle for 8th place. PS Fit's reeling them in as well, so PS Fit's bringing himself into this fight for 8th place. There's a big gap in front of them to Crazy Legs in 7th, so obviously that battle for 8th seemingly the summit of their ambitions at this point, as Andrew there down the inside of error code and makes the move there up into P13. Nicely done there from Andrew. PS Fits though still just pulling away from this pack of cars here. Ramster, Epiphany, Andrew and error code. Kevsim now looking to try and reel these guys in and bring himself into this fight. This is a 4-way fight here for 11th place as they're coming down the back straight here. Lots going on, lots to talk about, hard to keep up at the moment. 28 cars still out on the track here tonight for this 4th round of the GT3 Championship here at Motive. Epiphany looking to the inside of Remster, but can't make anything happen just there. Gap at the front between Jazzman and Tynus still just under a second, as we can see some traffic there moving over to the side. And that I think wasn't who I thought it was. Yeah, it was Ludo there who's letting the 2 leaders go through. And they're continuing to gap Robe now. Robe was gaining on them obviously when they swapped positions. Jazzman and Tynus were involved in a close battle, and Robe did close the gap briefly, but now they are extending that gap back to what it was again. PS Fit's now right in this fight here for 8th place. Kodalungu Nathan, PS Fit's going into turn 1. Epiphany, Andrew and error code, with Kevsim and Raki now joining in this fight as well. So 5 cars here battling over 11th place. So the sun is starting to set here tonight at Circuit de Catalunya here in Barcelona. And is that gonna, well, obviously lights are on now. Is the sun gonna fully set before we get to the end? I think it probably will do. I think we will be in the night time by the time we get to the end of the race, just about. I think the closing stages will be fully sunset, but for the time being we're in the dusk, we're in the twilight here in Barcelona, and currently Kodalungu's still weathering the storm from Nath. Oh, Nath, big slide, and PS Fitz didn't need a second invitation there, capitalised. PS Fitz a champion here at the PS5 GT3 League here at Motive, and did not need any more motivation than that to make his way through. Up into 9th place he goes. Nath just a little bit of a slide there, and now PS Fitz can focus his attention on Kodalungu, who's running in 8th place, just a second up the road from him. Cole Marley still all over the back of Shark Zulu here as they're coming into the chicane. These guys are a couple of seconds behind, they're a couple of seconds behind Gila Christ, who's running in 4th place. As they're coming out to the start finish straight here, can Carmani get a bit of a run? He's very close to the back here of Shark Zulu. This could be an opportunity here for the Ferrari to make its way through. The Ferrari much quicker than the Porsche in a straight line. Here he comes. Carmani getting a good little tow here, but he's just a little bit too far back here, and the Porsche is going to hold on coming into turn 1 as Carmani very deep there through turn 1, but gets it stopped just about. Was a little bit offline for turn 2, and that cost his entry into turn 2, and that's cost him a couple of tenths there, and it's given Shark Zulu just a little bit more respite there in that 5th place. But Carl Marley went for a very late braking manoeuvre, and it just didn't really work at all. PS Fit's still running in 9th place ahead of Nate J. Fletch. You've got Kodalungu, who's a second and a half up the road, so PS5 will be looking to bring that gap down as quickly as he possibly can. Remster still running 11th place ahead of Epiphany. You got Andrew there ahead of Erico, with Kev Sim and Raki behind them, so plenty of drivers still in a bit of a train here at this point in the race. Battle at the front starting to peter out here. Maybe the traffic starting to play a bit of a hand, as Jazzman is now just over a second ahead of Tynus. So Jazzman starting to up the tempo maybe a little bit. I can't imagine they're on different strategies with their pace being so similar, so maybe Jazzman just starting to turn the screw a little bit now. Sharka Zulu still with Carmine in the back of him in that battle for P5 and 6. We're going to keep an eye on these guys when they come around to the straight. What's happened to Nath? Nath has made a mistake here coming through turn 7, and he's now lost out to, that's Day there making his way through. I'm sure it was Day's livery that I saw making his way through. So Nath has dropped down to 19th at least, if not worse than that. What's his position now? He seems to have lost a load of places here. So Nath is down, yeah, he's down to 19th, just ahead of High Grade. So Nath J. Fletcher with a big moment, and has he got damage as well? Potentially that could compound matters and add insult to injury here, and that's going to be a real blow for him after he was running in a top 10 spot. It was looking very good for him, but it's all gone horribly wrong here, and what a shame there. But Sharkazoo is still just ahead of Carmali as they're coming through turn 4 here on lap 10 of the race, and Andrew's coming into the pits. So has he got, no he's not, oh he has got damage, but it was he was coming into the pits. That was his normal trajectory. I was thinking he might have retired to the pits, but he hasn't. He has actually driven it into the pit lane. But yeah, some big damage there on front of the car. That will take a little while to repair, and I imagine he will probably lose a bit of time here in this race as a result. But Sharka Zulu still has got Carmani on the back of him here in the battle for P5 and 6. Ericode also close on the back of Epiphany here, but Epiphany trying to put the pressure on Remster still, as Remster still leading this train of cars here in this battle for P10. And Kev Sim and Raki keeping these guys on their toes as well. They're certainly not dropping out of this fight here. Gap at the front between Jazzman and Tyner staying between 1 and 2 seconds at this point. It's not really going up at the moment, but you feel maybe that Jazzman's just got the power within him to just pull that trigger if he wants. You know, he's got that ability to just step it up if he has to. I think he's managing that gap at this point. I'd love to be wrong. I'd really dearly love to be wrong. And you know, if Jazzman is pushing as hard as he can and Tynes is keeping him honest, then that would be absolutely great. But I just have this funny feeling that Jazzman has got a little bit more in his locker, being in that Ferrari, which is a far superior car. Yeah, to the Honda that Tynes is in. Although it could be that the Honda's quite well suited to Barcelona. I don't know, maybe that could be the reason why he's keeping up with him. I'm not quite sure, to be honest with you, but we're going to find out over the course of the second stint. That will be where these guys really show their hand, and we'll find out exactly what their true potential is. But Shark's doing now the best part of a second ahead of Carmali, so seemingly a little bit more comfortable in that battle. Kodlungu has still got PS Vids behind him, just under a second between those two at this point. Nathan to the pits here at the end of lap 10. Gap between Jazzman and Tynus a second and a half at this point, as Epiphany is right on the back of Kev Sim here, like looking to try and make a move. In fact, Kev Sim's made a move on him, so Kev Sim up into P11. Oh, Epiphany a bit wide, gets a bit of a tap there on the inside there from Erico. Erico tries to cross go on the outside of Epiphany, can't make it happen I don't think, and Epiphany's gonna just tuck in there behind Kev Sim, but Kev Sim moving himself through up into 11th place. Nicely done there from him. Raki now trying to get involved in this one as well, as we've got the lap car there of Caprigia right behind these drivers as they're battling out over, well, technically 11th place, because Rems has pulled out a bit of a gap here to this train of cars behind him. Epiphany now looking to the outside as Kev Sim here defending the inside into turn 9. But is he going to go for a switchback here? I think Kev Sim's going to surely be able to be alert and alive to that. Yes, he is. Raki here trying to attack here on Ericode. As Nave's now done his pit stop and should be off and away now. Yes, he is. Down to 27 runners, so we've lost a couple of drivers here from this race. The gap between Jazzman and Tynus has come down a little bit here. Although having said that, Jazzman's just gained 0.3 of a second and has pulled out a little bit there on Tynus, so it's ebbing and flowing between the top two at the moment. As Totally Zero in the comments there saying unfortunately bad luck has struck, but he said that he's going to stay and he's going to support Robo, who's currently running in 3rd place at the moment, and Robo's actually not too far out of the championship battle as well. He's only 10 points behind the championship leader Tynus. I think at this point in the season, Robo is probably the only driver who can really take the fight to Tynus. So as it stands here, he'll be losing 2 points to him over the course of this race, but we don't know if Jazzman and Tynus have maybe gone for a half tank strategy. Maybe Robo's gone for a full tank. That could be why he's dropping off, because the pace in qualifying was actually quite similar. I think Robo was only about 0.3 off of Jazzman's pole time, and obviously the pace in the first part of this race seemingly significantly more than that off of those two. So I'm thinking maybe he might have gone for a full tank strategy, which could explain why he's dropping off at them quite severely compared to his qualifying pace. But yeah, be interesting to see what happens over the course of the pit window. And obviously when I say pit window, there is no official pit window. The drivers can come in at any time, but those on a half tank strategy will be coming in around the 30-minute mark, you would think, because that's when you get the full benefit off of it. Oh, with Shark Zulu, bit of a slide there. Carmody looking to the inside, into the chicane they go. Carmody trying to keep it all the way around the outside. Great racing here from these two. Real great respect shown between them as well, as he's trying to hold it around the outside there as Carmody, and gets the grip to do so. Beautiful driving, guys. Carmody there moves himself up into P6, but Shark Zulu on the inside. There's going to be dragged down the start-finish straight here, as now the Porsche is trying to come back at the Ferrari, and he manages to get a bit of a side draft here. Into turn 1 we go. Shark Zulu goes very late on the brakes and pushes Carmody a little bit wide there onto the runoff. There he goes, and it hits the sleeping policeman as well. And Shark Zulu manages to keep onto the position there. Was that a little bit aggressive there from Shark Zulu into turn 1? I'm not sure. Difficult to say really watching it live, but Shark Zulu there managing to hold his ground just about, and maintaining P6 for the time being. But maybe Carmody might have a couple of words to say about that one. As Kodalungu has still got PS Vids on the back of him in that battle for P8. Remster's still got Kesim, Ericode and Raki on the back of him here. That 4-way battle still continuing on like it has done for the last few laps. Epiphany into the pits here at the end of lap, I think it's lap 11. Snoopy also into the pits on a lap 12 actually it is. And Jazzman here just over a second ahead of Tynus at the moment, as these guys continue to fight it out. And it's ebbing and flowing. These guys quite evenly matched at this point. Jazzman obviously managed to get that gap at just over a second, get himself comfortable, but Tynus is keeping him on his toes at the moment. He's certainly not going to have this one all to himself like he did last week at the Hungaroring, where Jazzman absolutely dominated the race from start to finish. This time around, Tynus is definitely keeping him on the same page, which is what we want to see. We want to see a great battle here between these two old foes, good friends as well, but ultimately they both want to win. They both want to give it absolutely everything to stand on that top step, and they're currently doing everything they can. Shark Zulu is coming into the pits here at the end of lap 13 as Carmody continues on his way, so that's put a nail in that fight for the time being. That one will probably recommence once they've both been into the pits, but for the time being that one's now just taking a back seat here. Piersford's still keeping Kodalungu on his toes here in that battle for 7th place. Remster's got Kevsim, Ericode, Raki all in a line here, 4 of them currently in a train as they're coming down towards turn 1. It's been the same situation for a while. Obviously you've got the lap car of Caprigia there as well, who's keeping up with them. Beersford's a bit closer to Kodalungu now than he has been over the last few laps. You can see him almost underneath him here as we come down towards turn 6. He's just having a little look there, but Cod still not really seeming phased at all by Piersford's pressure. Piersford has been on the back of him now for a considerable number of laps, but Cod's just been driving his lines. He's just been doing what he needs to do, hasn't been really overcome with any sort of urgency. PS Fitz though looking very close here down towards turn 9. Is he going to send it up the inside? He is going to go for it, but has he outbraked himself? Cod's going to surely try and go for the switch back here. PS Fitz does go a little bit deep there onto the runoff and onto the marbles, and Codalungu there saw that one coming from a mile off and said, go on mate, you can go as late as you like on the brakes, I'm just going to suck you on the exit of the corner. And PS Fitz not able to get the move done there. Codalungu holding on to P7 for the time being. He tried it, to be fair, he went for it, you know, but it didn't quite work out, and he's going to have to go back to the drawing board and give it another crack here. Oh, as he gets a bit of a slide there coming into the final corner, but they continue on their way with no harm, no foul between those two. Jazzman still gapping Tynus a little bit. He's now got nearly 2 seconds over his arch nemesis here, so Jazzman looking a bit more comfortable in that battle for the lead. Ericode still just ahead of Raki. Raki's actually got ahead of Ericode, sorry, so Raki into 11th place. That he must have made that move coming through the final sector there, maybe into the chicane. But having said that, the Audi's got in considerable straight line speed here over the McLaren, as Ericode now down the inside into turn 1, gets the move back done on him there. Great battle from these two, and Ericode there back up into 11th place. So these two trading places at the moment. Kevsim now just disappearing off up the road ahead of these guys. Remster and Kevsim battling over 9th and 10th places, but Raki not giving up here as they're coming in side by side here into turn 4. Raki down the inside now into 11th place. Great battle here from these two. They're really putting on a great show, but Raki now has got the move done, and I think he might now start to pull away. Now he's got track position, as Caprighi looking to try and unlap himself here on Ericode as well. Fun little battle here between these two drivers, as Jazzman still leading the race by just under 2 seconds ahead of Tynus. 16 of you currently watching live on YouTube right now. If you are enjoying what you're watching, then please do smash the like button. It helps us out an enormous amount. If you want to get involved in the action, www.motiveracing.com is your place to get involved. Currently running one tier for a Sunday night here for the GT3 Championship, but the plan for next season is to resume our 2-tier format. Obviously, we need at least 50 drivers signing up for next season. I'll be putting up the sign-ups nice and early this season, probably in the next week or so, just so we can prepare for the new season well in advance. But yeah, the plan is to have 2 tiers once again, but for the time being we're just going to run the 1 tier, because I'd much rather have a full grid than sort of be struggling to fill up tiers, because it's just not fun when you've got two tiers with 15 drivers in each one. It's just not really that exciting, if I'm honest with you. It's not really, doesn't feel very rewarding. But definitely looking to try and get the 2-tier format back for next season, as we've got side-by-side action here. Remster here and Remster and Nath there, the lapped car of Nath, as he just gets around the outside. Oh, and Nath there tagging Remster, and that's not going to go down well at all, because Nath is a lapped car there. Obviously the rules are that the lap cars don't have to get out of the way. The blue flags are there as a warning rather than as an order, but tagging somebody round, I think that's probably a little bit beyond the pale. But that's allowed Raki to pull up onto the back of Remster, and so has Ericode. So Remster there has lost time to the driver who he was battling with, Kevsim, and that's all because Nate J. Fletch just was a little bit too aggressive there for my liking going into turn 1. Raki and Ericode still fighting out over 11th and 12th places here as they're coming down towards the turn 6 and 7 chicane. But yeah, just seemingly a little bit aggressive there from Nath as he was trying to unlap himself there on Remster. So that's given Kevsim a little bit of breathing space in that 9th place position for the time being. In terms of drivers who have pitted so far, Andrew's the highest runner. He's 8 seconds ahead of Charles Kazulu. Charles Kazulu was running in P5 before we came in. He was battling with Carl Marley. So I reckon that Andrew could still be in a position to get onto the top 5 here if he can play his cards right. He has got a bit of damage there on the front of the car. I don't know if he had that before we came into the pits. Maybe he opted not to fix it in exchange for a quicker pit stop. Maybe he feels like he can drive with that damage and can bear with it and put up with it, basically. Oh, his Ericode here is lost out. He's just backed off a little bit there coming into the final sector. So Ericode there letting the lap car of Caprighi go through, and is now dropped off of the battle there with Kevsim and Remster, as Kevsim into the pits here at the end of lap 16. But I'm not quite sure what was going on there with Ericode, as he just seemed to get out of it completely there coming into the chicane. Sharka Zulu's got a drive-through penalty, and Lol 3000 has picked up a stop go. So Lol 3000, I imagine they've got that one for speeding in the pit lane. That's what you usually get that one for. Sharka Zulu could be speeding in the pit lane, Could be a minor infringement for speeding in the pit lane, or it could be track limits. Not sure. I didn't actually see it pop up on the screen. If anybody did see that pop up on the screen, let us know in the comments. Pete in the comments saying, keep going Glenn, you grab a few more places. Tony Zero says, Andy, you tried keyboard for PS5 in spectator mode. Keyboard works on PS5 actually. No, I haven't actually. I haven't given it a go. Hello guys, says Matev. Matev, welcome back. Matev used to race with us here on a Sunday night in the GT3 Championship. Last couple of seasons, I think he's been away, not sure. But yeah, good to see you back in the comments, mate. Welcome back to the Motive channel. Yeah, it's been a while. Sharky Zulu there has got a drive through. Yeah, totally Zero just mentioning what we've already found out there. Remster's still got Racking on the back of him here in this battle for 9th place. You can see these guys coming into the final sector here. PS Fids still pressuring Kodalungu, but Kodalungu's not really giving in to the bait at the moment. And PS Fids here is bailing into the pits here at the end of lap 17, just past the halfway mark through the race. So understandable here that he's pulling the trigger and bringing it in. So I assume I assume a half tank strategy there for PS Fids. It's most likely going to be the case. Jazzman and Tynus going beyond the halfway point, or are they going to be coming in this lap? We'll obviously get a feeler for what they're doing. I reckon Robe's going to be full tanking it. I think Robe always full tanks it near enough. Eric Code into the pits, and so is Day. So both of those two coming in, presumably on half tank strategies as well. As Andrew's now on the back of Glenn. Obviously Glenn yet to pit. Andrew has pitted. He is the highest runner of those who have already been in to make their mandatory pit stops. And Andrew will be wanting to waste minimal time here behind Glenn, obviously, as he's already been into the pits. But with the damage on his car, he's going to have the straight line speed to get ahead of him. That's going to be a bit of a test. So Andrew here in the slipstream, he might have to go for a bit of a lunge here, because it's not going to be easy with that damage on the car for him to get the straight line speed. So this could be a bit of a frustrating situation here for Andrew, obviously. PS Fids, Eric Hoden, Dale in the pits. So PS Fids is now out of the pits and off and on his way again. But Andrew here getting a good run coming through turn 3. Can he 7 up the inside into 4? Just doesn't look like he's got enough of a good exit there, and this is going to cost him time here in this race. So not ideal at all here for him. Oh, he's actually got ahead of him there. So Glenn has, I don't know if he waved him through or whether Andrew made the move going through turn 4. But Andrew's now up into some clean air, into 13th place. Carl Marley on the back of Crazy Legs here. These two still yet to pit. They're just putting a lap on some traffic. That was Day here who they were lapping, and Epiphany's just in front of him. No, it wasn't Day. Who was it? Oh, it was Day, yeah. So Day and Epiphany there, I think have swapped places. Yeah, they have, yeah. So Epiphany is now in 19th and Day's in 20th. Thought it was, but yeah. Gone Marley within a second of Crazy Legs at this point. These two still going at it for P5. Tunde into the pits here at the end of lap 18. Gap between Jazzman and Tynus, sorry, is nearly 4 seconds. So I think Tynus must have made a mistake somewhere, which has dropped him off of the back of Jazzman a little bit. But I mean, it's not a massive gap. You know, if Tynus has a quick pit stop, then he might be able to get some time back. But he got a little bit wrong there, going through the final corner, which would have cost him a bit of time. Tunde and Glenn both into the pits here at the end of lap 19. Jazzman, your race leader, 4 seconds clear of Tynus at this point. Crazy Legs, half a second of a gap here over Carl Marley at this stage in the race. Mary Louise has got high grade all over the back of him as they're coming into the turn 6 and 7 section here. And Mary Louise there just tagging the grass there on the exit of turn 7, but high grade not close enough to make a move into turn 8. Might be able to set himself up though for a run if he can get a good exit here coming down the back straight. It looks like he's just a little bit too far away at this moment in time then. Tunde on the exit of the pits. There's Glenn still in the pits. Crazy Legs and Carl Marley still going at it here for P5. Mary Louise just ahead of high grade at this stage as they're coming into the chicane. top 11 drivers still yet to pit here in this race. Obviously everybody else has been in to make their mandatory pit stops. 26 drivers still going there, 29 take the start. Raki into the pits here at ended up 19. Carl Marley still all over the back of Crazy Legs at this stage, but still can't seem to find a way through just at the moment. Here we go, Carl Marley and Crazy Legs very close here down the start finish straight. Is Crazy Legs going to be close enough to make a move up the inside into turn 1? Here he comes, pulls out of the slipstream now, looking to the inside. Carl Marley just keeps it around the outside for the time being. And still holding on, but this battle's been going on for a few laps now and Crazy Legs just can't seem to find an opening just at the moment. Mary Louise still just ahead of High Grade at the moment as they're coming through the final corner here. About to complete their 20th laps of the race. Remster into the pits here at the end of lap 20. So that now leaves just 9 drivers still to come in and make their mandatory here. But I think it's safe to say that everybody who's still yet to make their pit stops is going to be full tanking it because, well, if you're on a half tank you wouldn't have made it this far. But yeah. There's Jazzman leading the race by nearly 5 seconds now, so he's clearly got a commanding gap over Tynus. Crazy Legs still close to the back of Carl Marley, but still not close enough really at this point. You're right, the battle's still going on between Carl Marley and Crazy Legs. You've got Mary Louise and High Grade about a half a second apart at this stage as they're going through turn 3 here on lap 22 of the race. Jazzman though is the race leader and he's coming into the pits. Wow, that was timing, wasn't it? End of lap 22. Jazzman into the pits. Tynus continuing on his way for the time being. But Tynus obviously now in some clean, I mean he was in clean air anyway because Jazzman was 5 seconds ahead of him, so hasn't really made too much of a difference. But Jazzman, he's got damage on the front of the car? Has he got damage? Did he hit the pit wall on his way in? Well, that could really change things up because he might have to get some damage repairs done. And if he doesn't get the damage repaired, then that will obviously cost him performance in the final stint. So Jazzman could have really screwed himself over here. I'm not quite sure what he was thinking because he had a comfortable gap and obviously didn't really need to take any risks. but that could cost him the win here. Tynus only 5 seconds behind him, obviously, before we came into the pit, so that could make all the difference here. Very surprising there, but Jazzman out of the pits now. Did he get that damage fixed? Let's have a look at the front end of the car. Looks like he did get it, or did he? I don't know. Yeah, he has got the damage fixed, so yeah. Well, I don't know actually, it's a bit of a scratch, but I think he has done, so yeah, it's difficult to see really, but that could make a difference here in the final stint of this race. Tynus still in the lead, and he's 12 seconds ahead of Robe at this point. Guido Chris there in third place is well clear of Carl Marley and Crazy Legs, who still batting it out over 4th and 5th places at the moment. You got the lap car there of Caprilia. No, sorry, of Aracode even, sorry. Just behind them. Day also lap car there on the back of the train as well. Crazy Legs very wide there as he came through on the exit at turn 10, which just lost him a bit of ground here to Carl Marley. So here we come then, we've got a lap car there just in the foreground, just moving over to the side. I think is that Long 3000? It looks like his livery, yeah it is. So Long 3000 letting everybody through here. Very courteous driving. Carl Marley still ahead of Crazy Legs there as they come into turn 1. Ericode, is he going to play a hand in this? Is he going to try and unlap himself? Can't see why he wouldn't, might as well. But needs to be careful. Doesn't want to do what Nath did earlier where he ended up taking out one of the front runners. Codlingu here into the pits at the end of lap 23. And he was in the battle with PS Vids earlier, so it'll be interesting to see where he comes out in relation to him. As PS Vids battling with Raki here. Here we come into turn 9, looking to the inside, but not close enough to make that move. In fact, sorry, that is not Raki in front of PS Vids, sorry, that is actually Robe there. So Robe is just trying to put a lap on these two, sorry. Do apologise. And Robe there is actually waved through by Raki, so Raki there letting him go without any fuss there. Raki still just ahead of PS Vids as they're coming into the final corner here. Oh, PS Vids very wide there, coming out onto the start finish straight. Would have cost him a couple of tenths there, and that's going to give Raki a bit more comfort there as they come down the start finish straight into turn 1. Crazy Legs still on the back of Carl Marley as these two battle it out over 4th and 5th. That one's still raging on here, as it has done for the last few laps. He's still got the train of cars, lapped cars behind them. Erico Day. PS Vids looking to the inside here on Raki into turn 6, but just not quite close enough at this point, as Crazy Legs is now cut off ahead of Carl Marley. Finally he's been able to make that move, and Carl Marley's coming under pressure here from Ericode as well. Ericode trying to get involved in this battle. You can see just by the way he's driving, he's attacking here. Oh, Carl very wide as well, coming out of turn 5. Oh, PS Vids, what's happened to PS Vids? He was in a battle with Raki a moment ago. He's now had a bit of a moment there onto the grass coming into the final sector, so he's dropped a load of time here. Has he dropped behind Sharka Zulu? No, he's still ahead of Sharka Zulu, but he's lost time. He's got the P3 man of Guido Chris just trying to put a lap on him here. So PS Vid's losing a lot of ground here to Reki. Reki now nearly 5 seconds ahead of him, as PS Vids is not letting Guido Cristo side by side with him, and surely Guido Cristo's going to make that move there. PS Vid's not fighting that one too hard, knows that's not his fight. Obviously Guido Cristo a lap ahead at the moment, but by the time Guido Cristo comes in and makes his pit stop, he will not be a lap ahead of PS Vids anymore. PS Vids should be on the lead lap by the end of this race, I think, because obviously the leader's still got to come in and make their mandatory pit stops. And when that all comes to fruition, he will be back on the lead lap once again. I was just talking on mute for the last minute or so, so I do apologise. I was just commenting there on how the Porsches seem so competent in a straight line now compared to what they were before. And I think the BOP, obviously the current BOP, has really changed that. Marie-Louise in the meantime into the pits, he's now away, so he'll be back out on the track in a moment. Roby into the pits as well at the end of lap 27. Ludo here, right on the back of Schalke Zulian as they're coming down towards turn 1, but Ludo too far back at the moment into turn 1. Carl Marley into the pits at the end of lap 27. A few drivers coming into the pits now. Roby's just on his way out of the pits, so he's done his pit stop now. He's back out onto the track again. Tynus leading the race. We're not quite sure what the situation is going to be with Jazzman. Jazzman is only just ahead of Roby, so I think that goes to show how much time Jazzman lost in the pit lane, because obviously he made contact with the pit wall as he was coming in, had to get the damage fixed, which would have added to his pit stop time. He's only 4 seconds ahead of Roby, and Roby was about at least 10 seconds behind him before the pit stop. So I would say it's safe to say that Tynus is going to come out with the race lead here. I think it's unlikely that we're going to be seeing Jazzman in the lead, but whether or not Jazzman can reel the gap down at the end when Tynus comes into the pits, we'll have to wait and see. Jazzman's going to be pushing like crazy in the last few laps to make sure that Tynus doesn't get this win, but I think the way things are at the moment, I reckon Tynus is in for another win here tonight. Obviously took the first 2 rounds of the season in the Honda NSX, which is a car that I think he's regretting picking. I get the vibe in the Discord chat, especially now the fact that Jazzman's in the Ferrari. But obviously tonight Tynus seemingly playing the patient game, and is going to get the reward with Jazzman's mistake going into the pits. As Jazzman's just trying to put a lap here on this train of cars which we've watched so many times throughout the course of tonight. High grade Epiphany battling out over 13th and 14th places. Epiphany looking to try and make a move here into turn 1, but high grade going late on the brakes and keeping it around the outside for the time being. Carmali with a stop-go penalty, which is going to have to serve in the next 3 laps. Crazy Legs into the pits here at the end of lap 28. Lots going on right now, but Jazzman trying to put a lap here on error code with Day just in front of him. So he's got some traffic here, which is going to cost him more time in this battle with Tynus. Tynus still showing no signs of coming into the pits. I reckon he's going to leave it until the very last opportunity here to pull the trigger. And he's perfectly within his rights to do that, obviously. PS Fids has got a drive-through penalty. I assume that's going to be for track limits because he's nowhere near the pits. He's obviously already been in for his mandatory pit stop, so it can't be that. So track limits there for PS Fids, and what a shame there, as he was running in a decent points paying position, and that's going to now put pay to his battle there with Raki, and it's going to give Raki a bit of a walkover in that P9. Raki can challenge her on the back of Mary Louise as well, because there's only a second between those two. Codalungu's now miles ahead of this battle, so I think Cod, well, he's obviously on a full tank compared to the others who are on a half tank, so that's the reason why that's happened, and it seemingly worked out for him because his gap to them is reasonably big, and unless he makes some catastrophic mistake in the final sort of 5 laps of this race, I think he should be safe in that 7th spot. Carmali into the pits to serve his stop go, PS Fids into the pits to serve his drive through. Tynus continuing on his way at the moment. Guido Christ still yet to pit, as is Tynus. Everybody else has been into the pits to make their mandatory pit stop here. Got 26 cars still running in the closing stages of round 4 for the GT3 Championship here at Motive for Season 5 on the PlayStation 5 here on Assetto Corsa Competizione. Raki getting closer to the back of Mary Louise here in this battle for P7. High grade looking to the inside of Ludo. He's going to try and make that move here, coming through turn 4. Side by side here as Ludo's trying to keep it around the outside. He'll have the inside for turn 5. High grade there going late on the brakes, and look at that, Epiphany down the inside, and Epiphany tags Ludo. Ludo goes wider, and High grade there having to go wide to avoid the collision there between those two, and Epiphany's the one who loses out the most, and rightly so, because he was at fault for that incident there. Ludo continues on his way, High grade still on the back of him, and Epiphany there, unfortunately for him, loses a couple of seconds in that little debacle, but bit of drama there between those guys. Raki's still on the back of Mary Louise in this battle for 7th and 8th places at this point. But bit of an incident there, and Ludo and High grade still battling over P10, but that's dropped Epiphany out of that argument a little bit there. Day's got ahead of Carmali into turn 9, but Carmali's back down the inside into the corner as he goes a little bit deep there, and Day gets the cut back there beautifully. Day back up into 13th place. Saw that one coming from a mile off. Beautifully done there. Error code still right on the back of these guys. PS Fids even is about 9 seconds behind them. Can he close the gap before the end of the race? I think that might be a bit of a tall order in the space of what's going to be about 4 laps, I think, from to the end, unless these guys really start slowing each other down with the battling that they're doing. Here comes Error Code looking to the inside of Carmali into turn 1. Carmali goes a little bit deep, very deep even, but still gets it stopped. Still manages to maintain a reasonably competent line there going through turns 1 and 2. Mary Louise and Raki here coming down to the end of the back straight. You can see Raki there looking to the inside. Is he going to be able to make a move? No, he's not. Not for now, at least. Although Mary Louise goes a bit deep, which might present Raki with an opportunity. No, still no dice there for him. Ludo and High Grade there, 7/10 of a second apart as they're going into turn 9. Epiphany's got Day looking to his inside, and in fact, it's not Day actually, sorry, but Epiphany goes deep there going through turn 9, and that has given a lapped car the opportunity to unlap themselves. But I don't know who it was. Hard to actually see. So, yeah, somebody's unlapped themselves there on Epiphany, and we'll try and figure out who that was. As it's the... oh, sorry, it's Jazzman. Sorry, it's the net race leader. Do apologise, Jazzman. So, yeah, I just called you a lapped car, which I'm very sorry about, and I obviously we're only getting a brief glimpse of you, so I didn't really get to see your prowess, so I didn't really clock that you weren't a lapped car, but yeah. The net race leader currently running in third place at the moment. Obviously he is pitted, so he will inherit... well, they're saying that, no, because Tyner's is probably going to be the race leader, so sorry, that's infactual there, but yeah, probably net second place at this point, Jazzman. Although we believe Tynus should come out with the race lead by the time he comes in. Mary Louise still just under a second ahead of Raki. Ludo just under a second ahead of High Grade. Epiphany still with those guys as well. As they just ahead of Kev Sim, I think. Yep. Very confusing with so many people on different laps, but trying to keep with it here in the closing stages. Tynus now into the pits here at the end of lap 32, so he's coming in at the, well, second to last opportunity. Guido Chris is coming into the chicane now as well. Is he going to follow suit and bring it in? No, he stays out for one more lap, but he will have to come in at the end of lap 33, otherwise he will get a humongous penalty, which will obviously drop him from what's probably going to be a top 5 at least to considerably lower than that. But Tynus here coming out of the pits here. So is he going to come out ahead of Jazzman? Jazzman coming to the final corner. I said earlier on, with Jazzman going into the pit wall, it would have cost him time with that damage repairs, and it has done. Tynus in the house comes out well clear. Into turn 1 he goes, and Tynus in the house, I think, is going to have this race win in the bag unless he makes a big mistake or runs out of fuel. I think that Tynus in the house is going to be your race winner here for tonight's race here at Barcelona. Jazzman, I remember him saying a while back he does not like this track at all. Obviously he's had the pace tonight, it's been clear to see, but looks like he's going to come out second best to Tynus due to that mistake that he made coming into the pits, where he binned it into the pit wall, got damage on the front end which he had to get fixed, and that's given his arch nemesis all that he needed to bring this one home. Once Guido Chris comes in at the end of this lap, that will give Tynus the race lead, and he should be able to see it out from here. It should promote Robe up into a podium place, but Tynus will be extending his gap over Robe in the championship to 14 points at the end of tonight. Obviously Jazzman not in the championship battle because he changed cars after a couple of rounds, so he's currently racing for Pride for the rest of this season. But Guido Chris coming into the chicane will be coming into the pits now, and the last driver to come in and make his mandatory pit stop is coming in now. So he gets it stopped, slowed down to the minimum pit lane speed limit there. Tynus coming through the final corner. He's just putting a lap here on what would appear to be Raki and Mary Louise, as these two battling for position, so they're going to be reluctant to let off the gas and let the race leader through. There's going to be one stumbling block for Tynus, this would be it, but they're letting him through, so they're pulling over to the side now, and this could allow Raki to attack here. He could capitalise on this, but actually I think he was quite sportsmanlike there because he didn't go for the move. Obviously he sensed that Mary Louise was letting Tynus past and didn't try to capitalise on that, so you've got to say fair play to him for that one. But he's going to attack all over the back of him on this final lap. He's going to give him everything he can to nab that 7th spot if he possibly can. Ludo still holding on for the final top 10 spot here ahead of High Grade. Carmiley coming in to serve his drive-through penalty here at the last opportunity, but Raki's still trying to attack on Mary Louise here into turn 5. too far back though at the moment, and he's going to have to wait. But I think time's running out. He's going to run out of opportunities here as he is a bit wide there coming out of turn 5. Got a little bit wide onto the curb. That could be his opportunity gone here. Mary Louise, I think he's going to see this one out for that 7th spot. Pierce Fitz attacking on the back of Nath J. Fletcher. Oh, and Nath is into the wall on the final lap of the race. Nath J. Fletcher's binned it into the barriers, and a promising start to this race, which went a bit Pete Tong, has now fully gone to pot here. Nath J. Fletch is going to drop down the order. He's retired to the pits. I can't say I blame him. That's going to be a frustrating moment there for him. He's retired from the session. He's left the server, and we're down to 25 cars at the end. Oh no, he hasn't actually. Sorry, he's still in the server. He's still in the server, but is retired to the pit box. But Tinus in the house nonetheless. The race leaders coming into the final few corners. Kept it consistent, didn't make any mistakes, capitalised on Jazzman's mistake when he came into the pits, when he put it into the wall, which forced him to get damage repairs. Tinus in the house, out of the final corner here at Barcelona. It's going to take the checker flag. It's his 3rd win from 4 races here so far this season, for season 5. He manages to capitalise on Jazzman's very rare mistake there. Jazzman comes over to take 2nd place here tonight. Took a dominant win last week at the Hungaroring, but not this time. Robe coming out of the final corner is going to complete the podium, just under 3 seconds clear of Guido Christ, who's going to come over to take 4th place here in the end. Mary Louise has finished the race a lap down ahead of Raki. So Mary Louise 7th, Raki 8th. Sharka Zulu came over in 9th ahead of Ludo in 10th, with High Grade in 11th and Epiphany in 12th. Guido Christ comes over to take 4th place here in the end. Crazy Legs is coming through into the final chicane, and he's going to finish this race in P5. So he comes over there. So Crazy Legs, a good performance, some very strong points here for him tonight. Tunde's finished the race in, Eric Coates finished the race in 12th, a lap down. Tunde 13th, PS Fitz 14th, Dave 15th, and Carl Wiley in 16th. Kev Sims finished the race 2 laps down in 21st place ahead of Remster in 22nd. Lol 3000 and Snoopy have seen the checkered flag. Codlungu here coming through into the final sector now. Glenn's finished the race. Krippiger, Andrew and Glenn have all finished the race a lap down in 17th, 18th and 19th places. Nath has finished the race in the pits. And Chris comes over to take the checkered flag there in 23rd place, 2 laps down. Codlungu, the last driver on the lead lap there, over in P6. And the only driver not to take the checkered flag is Nath, because he finished the race in the pit lane. So that is that then for tonight's action here at Motive at Barcelona. Tinus taking the win, a fortuitous victory, but didn't make any mistakes, so he fully deserved the win tonight. Jazzman making that mistake on his way into the pits has cost him the race victory here tonight. So it's Tinus, Jazzman and Robo, your podium finishers. Congratulations to them. Big thank you to all the drivers who turned up tonight, and apologies to those of you who we had to turn away due to the fact that we had a full server. Again, hoping to get for 2 full tiers for next season, but for the rest of this season we are going to stick with this format, just because we haven't got quite enough for a 2nd tier, and it's quite demoralising when you set up a 2nd tier and it just doesn't work out. So for the time being we're just going to stick with this format, but I'm going to put up a sign up form this week for next season so we can start preparing for next season. And obviously those of you who do miss out tonight can race with us on Wednesday nights, because Wednesday night for the Sprint League we never have a full grid for that. So if you miss out on Sunday, then please do join us on Wednesday night. Get your fix, get your get what you've missed out on the Sunday night on a Wednesday, because it's well worth joining in on. It's 2 30-minute races, no pit stops, plenty of fun to be had here at Motive. But with that being said, I want to say big thank you once again to all the drivers for joining us, and if you did enjoy watching this back, then please do drop a like, share it with your friends, family members and otherwise associates. If you're watching for the first time, go to www.motiveracing.com, and yeah, we'll see you all later. Have a good evening, and enjoy what's left of the weekend. We'll see you soon. Take it easy, good night.